One thing I actually love about making these videos the most is just how much you guys are involved in the process. Like the other day I did an entire video based on your responses on how much people used to pay for houses and how much people's incomes were 30, 40 years ago. It was a very fascinating video to make and hear everybody's answers. But besides that, many of you also send me real estate stories and different comments and things about the market and opinions on what you think, and it really helps me feel more informed as well, just the same as you probably do by watching my channel. And you know, I have to say, guys, like this one that I received recently was really awesome. And this is from Monty. Monty sent me this awesome explanation of how we are in a housing crash, guys. And I know people hate that word. People don't want to hear that because they're not seeing home prices come down fast enough to the rate that they want to see it to. But he actually sent me over a very interesting chart that pretty much proves that we are in this housing crash. And it's just a simple Fred chart of the median sales price of homes sold in the United States. And by the way, I'm over by Peacock Gap Golf Club over here. It's a nice golf course over here and some houses around the way and a park down there. So nice, beautiful area to walk around. Now, when we look at this chart that Monty sent me, that he annotated for us, you can see that he pointed out the Great Recession and the everything bubble that we're in today. And you can see just how much home prices are falling and how steeply ever since the peak of the housing market last year. And this chart tracks quarterly home prices, so it only gets updated 4 times per year. Unlike many of the other info that we can look at, like Redfin and Zillow and Realtor.com, places like that, National Association of Realtors, they update every single month, and it might be harder to kind of see this information, but when you kind of zoom out and look at this, it shows you the real picture of what's going on. Here's the deal, guys. The home prices are actually crashing now faster than they did during the Great Recession. And nobody wants to think about that. Nobody wants to remember how it was, but we don't need to remember because luckily we have history on our side and numbers to prove what things were like back then. But I will say, however, some of this data lags because as we look at it, it shows that America's home prices peaked in Q4 of 2022, and many of the other data sources that we look at say that it peaked in the summer of 2022. So that's a pretty big difference. That's like a 6-month gap right there. And so there is a chance that by looking at this chart that we might actually see the home prices start to tick back up when it gets updated for the next quarter. Because all these different composites of data that we look at, like I've mentioned before, never seem to be congruent with each other. They never seem to have the same price. You can look at median home price, number of homes sold, all these different data points on all these different data aggregates, and they'll all give you different numbers. But the idea here, if we keep on this current pace of how fast home prices are going down, that by the end of this year, home prices actually would have fallen 30% from where they were at the peak last year. Fascinating, right? If that's not a housing crash, I don't know what is, because that's about how much home prices fell nationally when we had the 2008 recession. And it's funny because the way he wrote this to me is he said, you know, it looks like the Great Recession looks like a hill, and what we're headed for right now is dropping off of a cliff. And I agree when you look at this chart. Realistically though, guys, when you look at if the peak of home prices were in Q4 of 2022 at $479,000, now fast forward to Q2, they're down to $416,000. That's a 15% drop in 6 months. And during the worst times, during the 2008 recession, from Q1 of 2007, we had home prices at $257,400 and went down to $233,900 in Q1 of 2008. So that's a 10% drop in a year, and we just saw a 15% drop in 6 months. So literally, home prices are crashing at a greater and faster rate than we saw during the great financial crisis. But once again, you're going to get people that say there's no crash and there's nothing to see here, even though it's spelled out right in front of our face in the data. Now, here's another fascinating point from all of this. When we look at this supply graph from Redfin, it shows us the supply of homes is currently steadily inching up right now towards the end of the year at a time when historically real estate supply starts to go down. Because when you look at just the 3-year chart here of the ebbs and flows of the supply cycle on the housing market during the fall and the winter months, it always goes down. But what's happening right now, guys? It's actually going up. Not by a lot, but it's going up. And to me, the reasons for that are a couple things. Number one, you have people still listing homes for sale, even though not at the rate that we saw a year or two ago. However, no one's buying those houses. That's the other thing. Because of these 8% mortgage rates that we're heading into right now, people can't afford to buy at these prices. So most of the inventory that's hitting the market is staying on the market. Only properties that are very well priced or in the perfect location or just move-in ready or have something about them that are just perfect and ripe for move-in are the ones that are selling right now. But everything else that's overpriced or needs too much work or isn't in the right location for that money, it's sitting on the market, guys. And I can confirm that as somebody just kind of walking around here in California and all the places that I've seen. Most of the properties that I've looked at are still on the market. They're not selling. But there's a handful of them that go inside of a week because the price is just dead on for that area. You know, like once you get to know the area, you start realizing like, wow, this is a much better location here than it is over there. And I could see why somebody would pay that price for this property and why that one's still sitting empty. So those old adages that we hear in real estate about location, location, location actually make a great difference on whether or not a property is going to sell. And I've seen it with my own eyes here, and I see it all the time in Miami as well. But you see, if we look at the month-over-month data, let's pull up the National Association of Realtors, for example. Things don't look as starkly. It doesn't look like things are coming down as much as the Fred chart that we looked at earlier, because a year ago it's saying the median home price was $413,000 and now it's $407,000 as of the latest August update for the numbers. So it's still pretty expensive. It's not like it's come down significantly according to the National Association of Realtors data. So it's like, who do you listen to? Who do you believe? That's the problem. And not only is that the problem, but the other main issue is that everything's not going to reflect like this in your local housing market. I've said that 1,000 times here on the channel. I have to say it again for people that just don't listen, but things can look vastly different, guys, in where you live. You know, I put up examples here about a week ago on the channel that here in Corte Madera, California, home prices, median home price is down 44% year over year. You go to Miami, Florida, where I live, it's up 7.8%, almost 8% year over year. And that's a stark difference. So it's not like things are happening the same way everywhere. It's just not, and it never will happen like that. But one thing that can't be denied is that Fred chart, man. Like, seeing how much things have actually come down since the peak is actually pretty substantial. And we're only about $100,000 away from median home prices going back to pre-pandemic levels. And if you think that can't happen, think again, because we haven't even hit the worst of this recession yet. And when we do, that's when you're going to start seeing it all come down. Because along with the recession comes hardship and distress. And this is when things are going to start to buckle, and you're going to see more inventory come by the way of forced selling. You know, lots of investors and speculators are going to get burned as well, who are highly over leveraged and own too much real estate and can't afford to keep making the payments on everything, especially if they lose tenants and renters stop making payments. Like, it all is a domino effect that can really cause a lot of inventory to come to the market relatively fast. You know, I had a real estate agent comment on one of my videos the other day saying, "Oh, Michael, you can't throw us all under the bus. We're all not bad people, you know, trying to, you know, convince people to buy or sell or to lie to people in order to get them to buy or sell." And I get that. You know, as somebody that worked in the industry for many years, you know, most of the people I dealt with were good. And when I say most, I mean like 75%. Because you got about a quarter of them that are just complete scumbags, guys. And I'm not going to lie. That's the only way to put it. Because I've met my fair share of agents that are just horrible people, really. But the vast majority of them We're good people. When I have a problem is when I see misinformation, okay? And here we go once again. We have the most recent weekly update from the Fairway Mortgage Company. And check this out, guys. It says tip of the week. As you know, sales are grinding to a halt. There's no way to paint a pretty picture. Or is there? Does this mean you won't be competing for the same home as 5 other buyers? Does this mean that seller credits will be coming back? Does this mean that your low down payment buyers will finally get their offers accepted? It says, remember, when there's a slowdown of buyer transactions, that leads to more inventory on the market. The more inventory, the less competition for homes, which is true. This not only leads to price reductions, but incentives to buyers. Look no further than the home builders who are offering incentives that haven't been seen in a decade, which is also true. But here's where the part where it's not true comes. Why not talk to your loan originator about using seller credits to lessen the pain a buyer feels when they see rates in the 7s, or pretty much now the 8s? Did you know that with a seller paid 3-2-1 buy down, you are looking at a rate in 1 year that's in the 4s, year 2 is in the 5s, year 3 is in the 6s, and by year 4, the odds are, okay, there's the key phrase, the odds are that the buyer has already refinanced to a lower rate. So it says these buy downs are exactly the thing we need in a market like this. They can be paid by the seller, and your originator can discuss with you maximum seller concessions to see how to encompass this into your offer. Even you as the buyer can pay these buy downs. But if the market is opening up to seller credits, why not get them? So here's a couple things. Number one, I agree that if the sellers are going to give you concessions and credits, take them. Get the buy down, okay? Make your payment lower for 3 years. Do it, guys. You'll save money. But here's the problem. When it says that odds are by year 4, you're already refinanced, that's taking a massive bet on the housing market right now that home prices will not go down. But yet I just showed you in the beginning of this video that home prices have been coming down every single quarter since Q4 of last year. And that's according to the Fred data. And that chart is starting to look very similar to how the chart looked back in 2007 when things started to come down at that time. And we haven't even been officially hit with the recession yet either. And I made a whole video about this last week, guys. You can go check it out. But that's the big lie that's being spun right now, is that you can refinance when rates come down. And it's just not true if you don't have the equity to do it. And since most home buyers don't put more than 10-15% down on their purchase, if home prices fall further than that, you can't refinance. And that's the biggest problem / lie about that. So mortgage lenders and realtors want you to get into the house by taking the 3-2-1 buy down because it gets you into the property. So they make the commission. Their sale is over for them. But when the payment starts creeping up over the next few years, even though you can technically afford it because you got approved for it, inflation is going to continue to go on. Lifestyle inflation continues to happen. Life continues to happen. Your expenses go up every year like everybody else's. And when you actually get to the point where your full mortgage payment is due, maybe you can't afford it then. Oh, but you'll refinance? Well, what happens if the housing market went down an additional 20% from where it is now, and you only put a 20% down payment? There's going to be no refinance in your future in that scenario. And so that's something that I just want everybody who watches my channel to fully understand. That is not a lie. That is just the truth. That's how this works. It's math. You can ask any mortgage broker. If you ask them that, they will have to tell you the truth, guys. They will have to say, yes, we can't refinance you unless you have X amount of equity in your home. But, you know, you probably will, because home prices always go up and interest rates will go down. Don't believe that part of it, because that's not true. I don't know if you guys can see this, but the street's actually a little wet. We actually got a little bit of rain over here today. First time since I've been in California that I've seen any substantial amount of rain. It wasn't like a downpour or anything, but it was a decent amount of rain for like 15-20 minutes. It's just interesting to see rain over here, especially since it basically never rains. And you know, the other thing is we have this looming government shutdown, which they just barely avoided like 4 hours before the government was actually supposed to shut down or whatever. So they bought themselves an extra 45 days, and they always play these same games and antics every single year when it comes to the shutdown, and sometimes it actually happens. Well, part of this is the fact that this causes a huge problem with flood insurance, okay? And there was actually a notice sent out by the National Association of Realtors. So everybody who has a real estate license and is a part of this National Association of Realtors got this email, and basically it's telling you to jump on the bandwagon and sign a petition in order to extend the lapse of the National Flood Insurance Program. Because if they don't, then it could affect the sales of up to 1,300 property sales nationwide every single day. How about that, guys? Is that wild or what? Without being able to get this flood insurance going, then 1,300 sales a day could potentially not close because of that. Did you know that? So basically they're telling Congress to act now to extend the program's authority to provide flood insurance and protect property owners in Florida and across the country. So I want people to think about this for a minute. If at this moment, home sales are basically at an all-time low because the interest rates and the prices are already crushing the market, what's going to happen if flood insurance freezes up and people can't get this? Just like homeowners insurance, people need to get flood insurance when they purchase certain properties, because since the vast majority of homes are purchased with a mortgage, if you are buying a house that requires flood insurance, guess what, guys? The loan won't let you close on that property unless you get flood insurance. So without that, this is going to basically decimate the housing market in terms of closing. So you're not going to see anywhere near the level of closed sales because of something like this. And talk about something that could bring extra inventory to the market. These big hiccups like that can easily bring a ton of inventory, because you're having all these homes that could potentially be sold, literally 1,300 a day, that might go unsold and hit the market once again. What happens then? Oh, there's another surprise source of inventory. Out of all of the things I've been discussing here on the channel, one of the last things I would ever think about of the sources of inventory and where that might come from is from listings going back on the market because people can't get the financing because flood insurance isn't available. How wild is that? And that just goes to show you how many games the government is playing right now with our lives financially, because these guys over in Congress are worried more about the dress code than whether or not you can get flood insurance and buy a house. So those are the people that you elected. Just remember that. And one thing I've covered so many times here on the channel as well is that new construction has been the best deal in town for such a long time. And even though it has been such a good deal relative to existing home sales because of all the incentives that they'll give you, it's actually not good enough. Even those sales are starting to decline now. In fact, as of the August numbers, brand new home sales are down 8.7%. And they're blaming this mostly on interest rates, which is true. Now, these new construction sellers will often give you that mortgage rate buy down, just like Fairway Mortgage is trying to convince you to get and jump into the house. But the problem is, I think a lot of people are even looking at that and saying, what if I get stuck with that at 7.5%, 8% interest rate later on? Which is a very valid question to be asking yourself right now, because unless you can comfortably afford what the payment's going to be at the full price, and you're not just relying on this buy down, I would highly suggest thinking again, guys. So if these incentives that home builders are giving are not even enough to get people into these houses with the buy downs, with the free upgrades, and even price cuts in some cases, then what's going to get people in, guys? What? Tell me. Because I don't know. I don't know what's going to get people in at this point, because there's so many obstacles that home buyers face, and obviously affordability is the top one, and that's something that hasn't improved. In fact, just the other day, I was telling you about how mortgage payments have hit an all-time high, literally record high, never been higher than right now. So people can't keep up with that, along with the price of everything else continuing to increase. And to think that real estate is going to continue just flying off the shelf like it was a year ago, You're kidding yourself, guys. It's not going to happen. We're seeing it in the sales figures. We're seeing the inventory go up when it's seasonally supposed to be going down right now. We're seeing people aren't even buying new construction anymore. And even home builders are hanging on to a 7.8 month supply of brand new homes. That's much higher than the resale market, which is only about a 3-month supply of homes right now. So that is tremendous. Things are definitely in buyers' favor when it comes to buying a brand new home. And even though that's the case, they're still having a hard time getting people through the door. And I'll bet you that number is going to continue to decline throughout the rest of this year. And there's just so many other problems that are mounting with real estate. We're seeing a lot of commercial properties that are being ready to be handed back to the lender. Quick story for you out of Dallas. There's a 12-story office tower there that's facing default right now. And this also goes to show you that the downtown area, wherever the office is at, doesn't have to be surrounded by crime and homelessness for things to be going poorly, because this place is 80% leased. It's not half empty like a lot of these San Francisco buildings, okay? In August, the building's owner, they're called Whitestone Uptown Tower LLC, they were notified by lenders that the mortgage is in default and that the loan is due on October 1st, which, as I'm recording this today, would be tomorrow. And the owner said that they've been working to extend the maturity date and find new financing, but the investor said that it cannot provide any assurance that it will be able to obtain an extension of the Uptown loan or new financing for the property. Why is that? Oh, because interest rates are high now, and lending standards are also tightening it up, especially when it comes to commercial real estate. And basically what's happening to these office building owners is they are unable to find affordable financing to hang on to these properties, and they are deeming it a better business decision to literally turn the keys over back to the bank rather than finance it again, because that's how expensive it is to finance. And it's not even like it's just this place. That's just one property example, right? But just as of last month, it's estimated that more than $3 billion of Dallas-Fort Worth commercial property loans were estimated to be in distress. And you have 3 office buildings recently that were threatened with foreclosure over there. You had another one that was also recently given back to the bank. And so really this is just the beginning of all of this. But even though I like to bring you guys new stories and give you the latest of what's going on with all the distress in the market and the economy, my message always is going to be the same to you guys. And that is that I'm not going to tell you when you should and should not buy, because only you can answer that based on your own life circumstances and financials, guys. And everybody has different needs. Everybody lives in different markets. Everybody has different things going on in their life. And I like to keep things realistic here on the channel, even though some people might think that I'm a little extreme, but I'm not. I'm actually very level-headed, I would say. And I would think many of you who watch agree with me. But part of my level-headedness is looking at the facts, like we looked at earlier in this video, that home prices have come down 15% in the past 6 months, okay? So we can't deny that, and we need to look at it. This is a national trend that I think we're going to continue to see as we slide further into this recession. So just be ready for that. If you're going to buy a home, just be ready for that with your stock portfolio. Be ready for that. Make sure you have some gold and silver. Be ready with everything. Make sure you have debts paid off as interest rates continue to stay higher for longer. And if you do those things, I think most people are going to be doing just a-okay, as long as you can keep your income coming in. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.